Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back. Today's Daf Hayomi is Menachos Daf Kuf Ches. We begin on Kuf Zayin Amud Beis, 9 lines from the bottom of the Amud, at the 2 dots. It's not awesome. So we refer to a Mishnah over there in Maseches Shekalim, which lists 13 shayfaros. So they were shayfar configured, shayfar shaped chests, like a pushka, narrow on top with a little slot to drop in the money and wide on bottom to hold the content. 13 of these shayfaros in total. Now the first 7, the Mishnah explains each one, you know what it's for. It was pretty straightforward. If you have machzas hashekel, you put it into this one. If you have the money that you need to buy a korban, so there was an easy system, a very efficient system in the Beis HaMikdash, where if a fellow needed to bring, let's say, a pair of birds, a kan yeledis, or etc., they would throw in swipe the credit card, right? Throw in a certain amount, and the kehana would look after it. They would purchase your korbanos and bring it for you. So the first 7 shayfaros, we know what they were for. They were labeled for their specific purpose. Now, what about the other 6? Some shisha, they were l'nadava, for nadava purposes. Now, the term nadava, used in today's discussion, refers to money which would be used towards purchasing of public korbanos oila, donated oilos. It was also called kait ha-mizbeach, or the dessert of the mizbeach. So when the mizbeach was idle, they would tap into this fund, use the money to buy a donated public korban oila, which is burnt on the mizbeach, and the hide, the skins, go to the kohanim who are serving on that day, of course. As we're going to see later, the monies that ended up being directed towards nadava were very specific monies. It's based on a pasuk, Rashi brings it later, that was a drasha that leftover chatas money. Let's say a person had a korban chatas, disappears, he sets aside another one, then he recovers the lost one, he has an extra one, so that extra one has to, be allowed to get a blemish, and then you switch it out for money, and that money goes to nadava. Same thing with a moisar asham, left over from the asham, or suppose he has leftover money that he had accounted for to be used to purchasing of a chatas or asham. Then the price dropped and he's left over with some money. So anything that was left over from chatas v'asham will go l'nadava. Again, l'nadava over here means nadava of kait ha-mizbeach, dessert for the mizbeach, to keep the mizbeach active. And it was basically a public nadava, publicly donated oil. So the Mishnah speaks about shisha and nadava. 6 of these shayfaros, 6 of these chests, served nadava purposes. Now, why 6? Why not just one container? For nadava connected me, what's the purpose of all 6? Amar Chizkiah. We know there were 6 families that would serve in the Beis HaMikdash on a weekly basis. There was a mishmar, which is the group that served that entire week, a group of kehanim, and they were divided into batei avos, the families. Sunday was family cats, and Monday was kagan, right? So there's an issue because it might come to discontent. It might generate some quarreling. Why? Again, Amar Chizkiah keneged shisha batei avos. We need 6 accounts for the 6 families, 1 per each day of the week. Chacham established these separate accounts. Why? To engender peace and harmony between the groups. And Rashi explains this in great detail. Look, the nadava money, which was directed towards purchase of these animals, which were brought when the mizbeach was a slow day, a moment of an idle moment. Now that didn't always happen. All depended on the particular dynamics of that particular day, right? So imagine Sunday's family, and remember, they had some benefit from these karbanos oila. They got the hides, the skins. I mean, outfit the whole family. New shoes for the winter, right? So Sunday's family, for some reason, didn't get any nadavas. It was a busy day, and they didn't need to tap into the nadava fund. So they walk away pretty much empty-handed in terms of getting these extra hides. Monday was a slow day. So Monday's family got struck it rich. They bring all these oilos nadava, walk away with tons of hides, and the Sunday's family looking at them and envying their catch, right? Their big catch. So although technically, halachically, it's not an issue. I mean, you get what happened. You get Sunday, you get Monday, you get Tuesday. I mean, it's a pretty fair distribution system, right? It so happens that on Sunday the mizbeach was busy, and there was no need for the oilos keita mizbeach. Okay, it's your luck, right? But nevertheless, it can generate, discontent and machloikis, the appearance of unfairness. So Chacham said, you know what? Let's keep it safe and sound. Each chest serves that respective day. So Sunday's family can tap into Sunday's chest, meaning to say that, let's say, Sunday there was not much going on in terms of nadavas. It was a busy day, they didn't need. And then Tuesday it's a quiet day, and they tap into the money of Sunday's pushka. That hide will be directed to Sunday's family. They have the rights to Sunday's funds and Monday's family as well, etc., etc. So this keeps things peaceful and harmonious. Rabbi Yechon Amar has a different reason for the 6 separate accounts. Since there was a lot of money going on there, they established these separate pushkos. Most of the money buried deep inside will not get spoiled and rusty, because otherwise if it's just one container, they're going to keep on just drawing from the top, putting in and depositing and withdrawing from the top, and the money on bottom will be left to rust and to spoil. This way they distributed the money to keep things moving and fresh. Uziri Amar has a third pshat. What's the point of these 6 shefaros? So the way Rashi learns over here, it's pretty simple. A person wanted to donate. It's not going on the Nadava Keita Mizbeach. A person on a personal level wants to donate an oila. So again, there was an efficient system for that purpose. You throw in the required amount, as we learned yesterday. You want to bring a shar, throw in a mana, an ayil, you throw in 5, etc., etc. And you had a special container for that. And you needed 6 because there was 6 options in terms of oil possibilities, different types of animals. So each one deserved its own pushka. This way they know exactly how to spend it. Uziri Amar, can I get par, ve'egel, right? Cow, calf, ayil, ram, a keves is a sheep. Gediv Yisar, a young or older goat. V'rebi. Now, why do we need cow and calf? Just have cow, and then even if you donated calf, we'll just upgrade it to a cow. Oh, it's going like Rebbe who told us yesterday, you can't upgrade. The Omar says, cotton, if you promise a small animal, maybe you only brought a big one, it doesn't work. So that's his opinion in terms of the purpose of the 6 containers. Ubar Pada Amar. Here comes shot number 4. He learns that the monies deposited in these pushkas were leftover monies from Chatas Vasham, and were meant to be used for the Oilas Nadava, as we explained before. The reason for 6 separate accounts, to accommodate 6 possible leftover monies coming from different karbanis, and each one needed its own account because it had its own brand, its own flavor, its own purpose. You don't want to mix the monies together. Param left over from the cows, and again we're talking about karbanis chatas or asham. Ve'elim of the rams, v'akvasim, the sheep, v'asirim, the goats, v'amisaris. So that was 4. V'amisaris is number 5. That's for leftover monies. Meaning, until now we spoke about leftover animal. An extra animal, right? Which turned out to be unneeded. So then it's directed towards the pushka. They convert it into money, etc. Moisaris is another pushka which was meant for leftover monies. A person accumulated extra money, set aside the chatas fund, turns out there's extra money. So all those monies go into the Moisaris pushka. And the final and last one was V'hama'ah. You see, when you delivered the machzas hashekel on an annual basis, you added another ma'ah, a little coin as a service charge, service coin. Now would be put into this pushka. At this point, we have 4 explanations. We had Chizkiah to keep the peace, Rabbi Yochanan to keep the freshness of the coin, Zeiri, different types of karbonis oila, Parpada, leftover monies, some were from the leftover animals and some from the leftover monies, and the ma'ah. Now we're going to try to explain why each opinion chose his route in contrast to the other. Pshat. Kulu ki Chizkiah le'amri. All of them didn't concur with Chizkiah's pshat to keep the peace. We're not concerned about fighting. Because each family knows, look, Sunday's my day, Monday's yours. I mean, fair and clear, right? He's serving on his day. So why should there be any... The others did not agree with Rabbi Yochanan to keep the money fresh. Not concerned about freshness of the money and spoilage because there was lots of movement anyways. They didn't hold of Zeiri's pshat, that we require a separate container for different, each animal, including par ve'egel, because this pshat relied on Rebbe, that you can't upgrade to a par if you promised a calf, and that's a personal opinion of Rebbe. They didn't want to establish this Mishnah like one shita, like Rebbe. And finally, they didn't hold the Rapada, which was the 4th pshat, because according to him, number 5 was Moisares, leftover monies. Well, all of them are leftovers. What's the difference if it's coming from the leftover animal, which was turned into money, or was leftover money to begin with? Kulu Nami, all the other ones, Nami Moisares, are all leftovers. So what's the point of having one specifically labeled as Moisares? And the next one as well is problematic. Ma Nami, that extra service coin that came with the Matzah shekel, that didn't earn its own chest. The Shkolim Asla, that was sent to the Shkolim. Wherever the shkolim were used, that was used too, so it's not going to generate its own account. Desani, we have a brisa which discusses this point. Leichan kalben zehoich, where does this kalben, this extra service coin go? The shkolim, it's sent to where the shkolim are sent, to Ramir. It's sent to Ladava, so it's a point of contention, we don't want to get involved. Okay, so far we have 4 explanations for the purposes of the 6 shefaris. Here come 2 more. Ushmul Amar, the money dropped into these pushkas were leftover monies and were directed towards the Oilas Keita Mizbeach. The reason for 6 different types. Keneged Moisar Chatas, leftover from any Chatas. Umoisar Asham, leftover of any Asham. Umoisar Asham Nazar. Umoisar Asham Mitzaira. Umoisar Minchas Choyte, let's say a sinner brings a mincha, leftover money there, goes into this chest. And here comes an interesting one. Umoisar Asira Sa'efa Shel Kohen Gadol, leftover of the Kohen Gadol's daily Asira Sa'efa Minchas Chavitin offering, which is brought in 2 parts, morning and evening. So anything left over there, it was put into the last pushka number 6, which is an interesting point because up until now we learned that only leftover from Chatas Va'asham is meant to be diverted into this realm of Nadava. Why Asir Sa'efa? What does that qualify? So Rashi brings, based on the Gemara in Moed Katan, that the pasuk refers to Asir Sa'efa as a chatas as well, has an element of chatas to it, for whatever reason. Yaakov Chatasa, Zu Asir Sa'efa Shekayin Katan, and therefore leftover from that money, from that offering, will also be directed to Nadava. That's Shmuel's opinion, which of course will be subject to Machlekes coming up in a second. Rabbi Yeshua, no. He says, what's the point of the 6? Keneged Moisar Chatas. One serves the leftover money from Chatas, or Moisar Asham, Moisar Asham Nazir, Moisar Asham Nazir, Moisar Asham Tzera. And here comes a new one. Umoisar Kinan, leftover from bird money. If there was money meant for bird purchasing. Umoisar Minchas Choyte, anything that was left over from Minchas Choyte. Now, he specifically left out the Kohen Gadol, right? Apparently he holds it doesn't qualify. That's not within the Chatas family. Only Moisar Minchas Choyte, and the other ones which are either Chatas V'asham. So now we have 2 more pshatim, Shmuel and Rabbi Yeshua. With Shmuel, my time, Rabbi Yeshua. Why did Shmuel pick his approach as opposed to Rabbi Yeshua? He says like this: why are you putting Kenan on this list? Tanile Reisha. Kenan is already mentioned on the first list of the first 7. They would drop in a certain amount to the Kenan pushka, and they would purchase a pair of birds. So why another account for the same purpose? Rabbi Yeshua, he responds, First of all, Tani Kinin. In his presentation of the Shafars, he did not mention Kinin in the first 7. So he needed one for Kinin. Ask him, really? Vatani Rabesha, Vatani Kinin. We have a Bryce Rabesha presents with Kinim, listed way back on the first set of 7. So why 2? Yeah. Says the more Chad Kinin. One is for an initial carbon of Kinin. You need a pair of birds, throw in your money, they'll buy Kinin. V'chad Meiser Kinin. Next Pushka was for the leftovers, which is now going to be directed to L'Nadava. It's a totally different system. Okay, Rabesha, my time Lam Kishmuel. Why did Rabesha disagree with Shmuel? The answer is, he held that Chaviti Kain God doesn't qualify as Chatas, and therefore the Meiser of that fund would not go L'Nadava. Several he holds Kimad, like the Shita that says, Meiser shall Asirus Eva shall Kain Gadol Yirakev, the leftover of the Asirus Eva of the Kain Gadol, you destroy it. You let it spoil. If it's the material or the money, you destroy. It's not in the Chatas family which would enable it to be used L'Nadava. That's a very specific, exclusive system for Chatas and Asher money. The Sani, we have a brisa about this. Moisa Minchas Nedava, the leftover of a private voluntary mincha, or Moisa Mincha, leftover of another mincha. We're not sure what's going on in this brisa yet. We'll see in a minute. Yirake be destroyed. Maika Amar, what does the brisa mean to say? It sounds like a riddle. Amar Chizdachika Amar, so we have 2 ways to explain the brisa, which correspond to these 2 opinions mentioned a minute ago regarding the status of the leftover money of the Chayin Gadol's mincha. The brisa reads like this. We begin Moisa Minchas Choyte Nedava. If there's any remnants of a Minchas Choyte, that's Moisar Chatas, that's Nedava, that goes to Nedava. Perfect. What about Moisar Asirus Eva of the Shal Chayin Gadol? That doesn't qualify for Nedava Yirakev. That's one approach. Rab Amar, he disagrees. Afilu Moisar Asirus Eva Shal Chayin Gadol Nami Nedava. He says even the leftover of this one is Nedava because it's called the Moisar Chatas. So that was the first item in the brisa. The brisa included with something that doesn't qualify. What is that? Ella moisar lachmei toida yirakev. If you have any excess lachmei toida, then there's nothing to do with it. You can't offer breads on their own, and you can, Viplukta. And this ties into another machlokes regarding this same matter. Leftover asirus eif of kohen gadol material. What happens? Moisar asirus eif kohen gadol. Rabbi Yechon Amar nedava. He also, it's like the leftover of the chatas goes l'nadavar lezayimer yirakev amar yirakev meis becomes a kash. So again, we go to a Mishnah Maseches Shkolim, where it seems to say that the leftover of the kohen gadol's asirus eifa qualifies as moisar chatas and goes l'nadavar. Meisi moisar shkolim chulin. A fellow set up a machzah shekel fund and he's accumulating money. At the end of the year, it turns out that he has $1 million and then he only has 50 cents. So that he can just take home, he can pocket it because his initial intention was only for the required amount, which is machzah shekel. He never intended on expanding that. Now, umoisar asirus ha'efa. Here goes. Or umoisar, or leftover money from kinei zavin, Izav's birds, v'kinei zavos, v'kinei yoldos, v'chatas hashamos. All these are meisar nadav, as we explained. The Brisa did mention asirus eif of we assume it's a kohen gadol's mincha, which is considered like a chatas. Ma'alav, let's assume moisar, when the Mishnah referred to the leftovers of the asirus eifa, it's shel kohen gadol of the chavitin. See, there's your answer. No, there's another carbon that has asirus eifa. Then actually it's certainly a chatas. That's the chayte. Lo meisar minchas chayte. The Brisa, the Mishnah meant leftover of the asirus eifa of the chayte. A sinner's mincha, that's certainly considered moisar chatas and goes l'madava. Okay, so we have this machlekes, this running machlekes. Moisar asirus ha'efa of the kohen gadol's daily minchas chavita. What happens to it? Yirakev, you destroy it because there's no other purpose, or it goes l'madava. Is it somewhat categorized as a chatas or not? Omar, Rav Nachman Yitzchak Mistavrab. I'll go with the opinion, Commander Omar, that it doesn't qualify. Moisar asirus eifa gadol yirakev, destroyed. Why? The sign. Listen to this price, which does not seem to consider it as a chatas. The sani lo yosam alei shemen v'lo yitin alei lavonik chatasi. So the mincha of a sinner is certainly considered within the chatas family, and it's meant to be presented bare. No oil, no lavaina, because it is a chatas. Ki chatas he. The word he is extra. This is, but not the other one. Not another one which, although is perhaps somewhat similar to this one, it's also an obligatory mincha, it's a daily mincha b'kan gadol. Well, don't think it's labeled as a chatas. Amar Rav Yehuda, he kriya chatas. This one, the minchas chayte, is called a chatas. But another one, although it's somewhat similar, that's not called kriya chatas. What do we learn from this limeid? It teaches us ala asirus eifish b'kan gadol she'ena. It's not labeled. It's not kriya chatas. And therefore, Utuna Levana needs Levana to come along with it. So apparently, it's not within the Chatas family regarding our discussion as well. The fact that it's not labeled as Chatas. So what would you say about Moisara, leftover money of this type of offering? You're okay. Okay, so bottom line is like this. Leftovers of Chatas, leftovers of Asham, whether it's due to an extra animal or leftover money. Lacha is, it goes, Linadava, which in the context of our discussion means the extra karbonos oila, which are placed on the mizbeach when the mizbeach is, when it's a slow day, when it's idle, to keep it busy, to keep it, active. The carbon is on the mizbeach, and these skins go to the kohanim. Now, we have 6 shefaros, which are labeled in the dava, and according to most opinions, the point is to accommodate these funds, these monies. Why 6? Whether it's to keep the peace, whether it's to accommodate different types of leftovers. Then we had a discussion regarding the status of leftover kain gadol money. Is the asirus eifa considered like a chatas or not? We have a machlekes between many Amoraim, and we have a raya from a brisa to one of the shitas. Continues the Mishnah. Shor zeh oila. Okay, I'm standing next to a shor. This will be committed to an oila. So it's not like I'm committing myself as a person. I'm not making a vow, a neder, which would require me to stick to my exact expression all the way till the bank, till the mizbeach. No, I specified this will be an oila. So it's object-based, it's item-based kedusha, and if it goes missing, I'm not responsible for it. But it's time. Now let's say it gets a blemish. It's unfit for the mizbeach, and I want to switch it out. I'm going to sell it and take the money. Do I have to keep to the original format? Do I have to keep it a shor, or can I switch it out, into 2 small ones? Yeah, in Ratzav, if he wants Yavi B'Lev Shtaim, he can take the money and switch it into 2. As long as he, directs the value ultimately to the mizbeach, you're okay. As long as you maintain the value, the monetary value, you maintain the kedusha of the value. That's okay, even if it. Now it takes on a new form. You switched 1 into 2, that's okay, and vice versa. Shnei shvarim elu oila. I'm committing to bringing these 2 oxen as an oila, when they become unfit. Ratza, if he wants, Yavi b'Debeinech, can switch them into 1. A bigger one, more expensive one. Right? Because in contrast to the previous Mishnah, where it was a personal vow, I'm bringing a shor, that cannot be modified. I have to keep my word. I have to fulfill the original expression. But here it's not person-based, it's item-based. This item is kaddish. As long as it's around, I have to bring it as is, but if it's going to be converted anyways, then you can modify it as you wish. If Rebbe Oyser, he says, no, you can't do that. At least l'chatchila, preferably you should stick to the original format. If you bring it, it's okay, but you meant to stick with the original form. So if it's a single oila, single shor, keep it as such. If it's 2, keep it as 2. Now, the same would apply with different ram. Ayal is oila. This ayal will be an oila v'nistav, and if it comes on 50 minutes, you have a dam of keves. It could drop down to a sheep. Keves oila v'nistav. He promised this keves as an oila, and it got a mum, imratz, if he wants. You can upgrade it to a ram. You have a dam of ayal. You can take the money, buy with it a ram, which is a bigger carbon. Rabbi Oyser, he says, no. Again, you can't modify from the original. You shouldn't modify from the original format. Continues the one Amid Beis. So, here we're allowing modification, whereas in the previous Mishnah we don't. V'amris Reisha, back in the other Mishnah, we spoke about not changing anything. Shar b'mana. He vows to bring a shar worth $100. Ve'evi shnayim, when he says, you know what, I'm going to bring two for the price of one, 50-50. Lo yatsa. It's not going to be a fulfillment of his obligation. And here we allow him to switch it down or up. Yeah, it's a big difference. Huge difference. Shar zeh. Here it was item-based. It was object-based. And now it becomes unfit. Shani, it's very different. As long as he retains the value, he takes the money and redirects it, it's okay. No matter what he brings at the end. Okay, one example was, started with 2, and he converted them into 1. Shnei shvarim elo elo, right? And when they become unfit, ratza, should he want, yavi b'dmei nechad, he can take the money from these 2 and switch it into 1 animal. Rabbi Yisrael says you can't. The Gemara is assuming it's because he took 2, which is a bigger presentation, and turned into 1, which is like a downgrade in terms of the presentation. So my time, why does Rabbi not allow this? Because initially he promised big. Now he's bringing small. It doesn't work. But even though we're speaking about a blemished, unfit animal, so it's just about converting the money, as opposed to a personal vow to bring it in this way. So what's the big deal? Rabbi doesn't allow l'chatchila, which is interesting. Similar to it's like a takeoff of the original halacha. It's almost like, when I make a personal commitment to bring it this way, I can't change, even b'diavad it doesn't work. So here, it's 1 notch less. You shouldn't be modifying, you should retain the original format. If that's the case, why is Rebbe only taking issue with this, so to speak, downgrade? Rebbe yesterday didn't allow upgrade either. He said it's critical to keep it the way it is. So here it's not so critical, but at least it's unadvisable, right? According to Rebbe. If you live like Nami Bereshis, Rebbe should take issue with the first case as well in the Mishnah, where he took 1 animal and switched it up to 2, even though it appears like an upgrade. But remember, according to Rebbe, upgrade and downgrade is treated equally. So if he shouldn't be doing a downgrade, he shouldn't be doing an upgrade either. You're right, Rebbe really disputes the entire series of cases. So again, when it's shar zeh, you shouldn't upgrade it to 2 either. V'natalu l'Rabbanan, he was waiting patiently for the Rabbanan to finish their presentation, adamaski mosai, until they conclude their presentation, until they refer to both cases, upgrade and downgrade, and then he voiced his opposition. So after they allowed it, he says, no, you shouldn't be doing it. Today, I'll even prove to you that he disagrees with both. Upgrade and downgrade. Because look to the next part of the Mishnah. This is going to be a ram for an oila. It becomes unfit. If he wants, he can switch it down to a sheep, as long as you retain the same value. Likewise, if he upgrades keves al this sheep, when it becomes unfit, I can upgrade it to a ram. So it's an upgrade. So clearly Rebbe disagrees on that too. Okay, so on the one hand, Rabbanan allow any modification because it's item-based, it's value-based, and Rebbe says don't do l'chatchila. Now comes an interesting question. So Rabbanan allow modifications, but to what extent? How extreme can you go from one type of animal to the other? What's the halacha? Hashma is a raya. Yeah, you could. This will be a shor for oil. You can't downgrade to a ram. That's too drastic. Maybe bedam of beis elim. You can take the $100 and turn it into 2 rams. That's an offering of somewhat equal stature. Apparently, according to Rabbanan, you can modify even to a different type. Rabbi takes issue. He says, no, v'shein bila, we can't go from 1 to 2 because you're going to run into a different issue. What about the Menachos? Every carbon is meant to be accompanied by 1 mincha. And here, initially, he promised 1, right? 1 shor, which gets 1 mincha. Now it's switching to 2 rams, which are going to get 2 menachos, and it looks very different than your original pledge. And you can't mix them together, ain bila, so that's why we shouldn't be doing it this way. Okay, in any case, Shema, we have a clear-cut resolution to our question according to Rabbanan that allow modification. It even allows from going from one min to the other. If so, Ma'iri Trey, so why are we insisting on switching 1 shor to 2? Afilu chad nami. We would allow even to switch from an ox to a ram, as long as you retain equal value. We're going to Rabbanan. The Habban is still because in a case where it's unfit, where the original one becomes unfit, the Rabbanan we already established. According to Rabbanan, there's no difference what you do. Doesn't matter whether you're big or small, you can modify. So why doesn't the Brisa allow that according to the Rabbanan? Trei Tanoi, believe the Rabbanan. There are two opinions. There are two versions of the Rabbanan's Shita. The original version in our Mishnah allows for any sort of modification, provided that it's Harezeh, right? Whereas in the Brisa, up to a point. You can do something of equal stature, you can go up in your presentation, but you can't drop down. Okay, so far we have like this. Harei alai, it's a personal vow, personal commitment. You got to stick to the original format. You can't deviate. You can't reformat it. But if it's harezeh, it's item-based, it's object-based, this thing will be kaddish. And then something goes wrong and you have to convert it and redirect the money. So that the Rabbanan say, you're free to do what you want. Up, down, equal, even a different min. In the Brisa, however, they don't allow downgrades. According to Rebbe, at this point we have one version of Rebbe, second version coming up soon. So Rebbe takes a position on that. He says, no, l'chatchila, you shouldn't be modifying either way, up, down, either way, keep it, the way it was. Okay, so now let's analyze Rebbe. Rebbe Oyser, Hishaim Bila, he says you can't even switch one shor for 2 rams. You would think it's something of equal stature, it's okay. No, there's an issue of the Menachos. Is that the only issue according to Rebbe? I thought you shouldn't be modifying anyways. Time, so the reason is, the Bila, you can't mix the 2 Menachos together. Ha yesh Bila shari, but if you could mix them together, it would be okay. And the Mishnah doesn't allow any sort of tinkering. But Tanan, we have a Mishnah. Ayal ze'oila, right? B'nistayv. Rotza yavi b'dam of keves. Keves ze'oila b'nistayv yavi b'dam of ayal. So according to Rabbanan, you can switch the ayal to the keves to the ayal. But Rabbi, however, he doesn't allow it. And here he seems to allow, barring the mincha issue. Again, 2 versions of Rabbi. Trei Tanoi, there were 2 Tanoi, there were 2 versions of Rabbi. So according to Rabbi in our Mishnah, no modification whatsoever. According to Rabbi in the Brisa and the Gemara, you could modify as long as you're not going to run into any mincha complications. Just an interesting point. Rashi goes into this. He says, okay, the issue is because you're turning one mincha into 2, which is a totally different presentation than the original, right? What about one animal into 2? Why is that not an issue? You're turning one shor into 2 rams. He says like this. Because then you're taking the actual shor and you're switching it into 2. The 2 grew out of the 1. Right? You took the $100 that was meant for the shor and you now switch it into 2. So it's not a new presentation. It's simply born out of the original carbon, but by the menachos, which you're self-funding, and menachos is something you have to bring separate. So now he walks in with 2 menachos. Hey, that's not what you had pledged initially. So that's a totally new presentation, and that should not be done. Now the Brisa just concluded ubetohirim. So we finished the Brisa now ubetohirim. Tahirim here refers to an animal which is unblemished. Interestingly, we call it tahir. If you recall, a couple of days ago we had a pasuk. We found a pasuk which refers to a blemished animal as a tummy. So here, in contrast, you have an unblemished animal which is fit for the mizbeach. The Brisa calls it tahirim. Okay, but tahirim. Let's say your animal is fine and just great, no problem with it. Egel vehevi par. Keves vehevi ayel yotza. So suppose he pledged to bring an egel, a calf. Vehevi par. Instead he brings a cow, which is bigger. Or keves, he pledged a sheep. Maybe ayel decided to bring a ram. So it's an upgrade. The Yatza works. Why? Stomach Rabbanon. This Brisa is following the Rabbanon that you can upgrade your neder, as opposed to Rebbe who says you can't upgrade when it's a personal vow. Okay. So let's just recap again. Harei alai, you got to stick to what you said. You can't modify. Can you upgrade? According to Rabbanon, yes. According to Rebbe, no. Harei zeh, it's item based. It's object oriented. So as long as it's around and it's healthy and fine, you bring it. But if it becomes unfit, which requires you to switch it out, to convert it to money and sell it, right? Can I go now and retool the whole offering? According to Rabbanan in the Mishnah, no problem. According to Rabbanan in the Brisa, as long as you don't downgrade. According to Rebbe in the Mishnah, you shouldn't be doing it at all. According to Rebbe in the Brisa, you could, as long as it doesn't complicate the Menachos. Okay, Ratza Yom B'Dava Beis. Amar Rab Menashe Bar Zvid Amar Rav Leishana. When do we allow modification? When it's Harei Zeh, when it's item based. That's only Leishana Lamar Shar Zeh Oilo, when he specified this shar, so it's item based. Aval Amar Shar Zeh Alai. If he added the word alai, personally injected a personal element into the commitment, this shar is upon me to bring as an oila, then it's a personal vow. And he has to follow through with the original format. He has to keep it a shar, hukba. He's committed to that format. Says the Gemara, who says, Uduma, perhaps adding the word alai doesn't mean more than just, I'm going to look after this one. I'm going to make sure I bring it, alai, Uduma, alai, labiya ka'amar. He meant simply to commit himself to carrying it out with actualizing the nadava, but it wasn't more than that. Rather, if it was learned, it was like this. When would things change? When do we say it's item based? This will be an oila. Inami, or even if you added the word alai in that context, Amar sharze alayla. So in those cases, it's just a nadava. Aval Amar sharze v'dama v'alayla hukba. But to say this shar and its value is incumbent upon me, I'm pledging to look after it, or its value, I'm going to see it till the end. So then hukba is committed to this form, which means to say even if he has to switch it out and it gets converted to money, he has to still retain that original format. That was his personal commitment. That's like a nether. And here you can't modify. Continues the Mishnah. However, a person gets up and declares, Ha'echad, one of my sheep. Echad nikvasa hegdish. Doesn't specify which one. Or Ve'echad mishvarai hegdish. One of my oxen will be hegdish. Well, Yerushalayim, he had two. We assume he's being generous and thinking big. Hagadol Shaban hegdish, the biggest amongst them is going to be Kaddish. The Gemara says, a person wants to donate ba'ayin yafa. If he's at it, he'll do the best, the nicest. It's a pasuk mivchan nedrechem, the best. So that's the assumption. He meant the nicest, the biggest. Hagadol Shaban hegdish shloisha. Suppose he has three. Hegdish, and now not only is number one, let's say it's one is the biggest, two is the middle, three is the smallest. Not only is number one going to be Kaddish, but even number two, the middle one, number two, because he's bigger than three, so perhaps he had number two in mind. Now Pirashti, suppose he says, I named the cow, Betsy the cow, and I remember which one. Or Oisha Amar, he says, Oisha Amar li Abba, my father instructed me on his deathbed. He specified there was a certain animal that, and I don't recall. So in this case as well, we can safely assume Hagadol Sheba and Hegdish, only the biggest one, the nicest one, is considered Hegdish. Presumably that's what he had committed to. Alma says the Gemara, apparently Magdish ba'ayin yafa Magdish. The fact that you're committing the nicest, the biggest, is because a person is in a positive, generous mindset when he's Magdish. Amos Seifas, how do you understand the next halacha? When you have 1, 2, and 3, you would assume number one is Hegdish. We say no, Beinoini, Sheben Hegdish, the middle one. Why? Alma, so do you mean Magdish ba'ayin ra Magdish? That he donates in a less than generous manner? Amar Shmuel, no, that's not what the Mishnah meant. We didn't mean to preempt number one. We meant in addition to number one. Not only do we account for number one, we're concerned perhaps number two was actually the one that he had in mind. Why? Because relative to number three, which is the smallest, number two is generous. So now, look, only one animal is Kaddish, but it's either number one, which is the biggest of the bunch, or it's number two, which is the bigger of the last two. So which one is Kaddish? And he wants to take one home. He doesn't want to leave it out. Hey, Chavod, what's the solution around this issue? Isn't it this very simple, genius solution? I'm Rab Chia bar Rav. Mamtin le'ashiyumam. Look, you wait until number two gets a mum, and you switch it out to number one. You switch over, you convert, you transfer the kedusha of number two onto number one. Right? So now, either way, you're good, you're safe. Because if initially number one was the Kaddish, then great. But if the kedusha was on number two, now you switch the kedusha over to number one. So now you bring number one as a carbon, you're done, and you take the other ones home. When do we even account for the possibility of number 2 being Kaddish. Elo de Amar Echad Mishvarei Hegdish. When you use that terminology, like we had in the Mishnah. Aval Amar Shor B'Shvarei Hegdish. But suppose he gets up and says, the ox amongst my oxen is Hegdish. He meant the outstanding one. There's no question. The best one. Hagad, only the biggest one. Shaben amongst them is Hegdish. Why? The ox bitroy amongst my oxen, the best, most outstanding one coming. That's what he had in mind. That's what he said. Ain't really? A person tells his customer, buys I'm selling you a house amongst my homes. So you think it's like the ox amongst my oxen, the biggest and the best. No, Marei Aliyah. He points to the upper floor there, the 6th floor, that's yours. Lav Mishum. The Geria, apparently this expression doesn't denote high quality. Actually, you can give him the worst. Loi. So the Geria means that this apartment, the reason why he's giving it to him is because it's the lesser quality place, right? All right, upstairs, the schlep upstairs. So that's why he's giving it to him, because Bais Bebatai can get away with anything. Loi, no, Mu'ula Shebebatim. When he says Aliyah, it doesn't mean the upper floor. It means give him the best house you have, Aliyah, right? The best. Because, in fact, Bais Bebatai means the best. Just like Shor B'Shvarei. Meis, here comes a kasha. Shor B'Shvarei, Hegdish. That's exactly what we're talking about. Or he says, V'chein, or a case like this, where there was a mix-up. Shor Shel Hegdish. It was a real Shor of Hegdish, no question. And then it got mixed into your flock. Shunzar B'Chem got mixed up with other animals. You have no idea what's what. So in both these cases, whether he pledged the Shor B'Shvarei or there was a real Shor Hegdish got mixed in, so which one is presumed to be Hegdish? The best one, Hagadol Shben Hegdish. The best one is Hegdish. So you're obligated to give the best as the carbon, but you still don't know for sure. Maybe the other ones were actually the Hegdish. Right? Certainly in the case of the mix-up, you have no idea what's what, right? So you have to separate the biggest one and use that as the carbon. And the rest, you can't take chances. So you have to sell them to customers that need them for oila. The ones that need oilas. With Menachos, you can pocket the money. Rashi explains. The money in this case is not get affected because only a balmum, carbon which is a balmum, allows for transferring a value onto its money. Here it's unblemished. It's a regular carbon. Just you're selling it because you're allowed to sell. Because you know, after all, only one in the bunch is Hegdish. So you're allowed to sell and keep the money. Now the obvious question. According to Rav Nachman, Shor B'Shvarei ultimately means the best of the best. So what's the concern with the rest of the bunch here? I mean, the best is Kaddish and the rest isn't. Targumah will apply this element of uncertainty as Shor Shel Hegdish on the second case of the Brisa, where there was a mix-up, then you really don't know what's going on. Shor Shel Hegdish, Shuzar B'Acher. The Hegdish animal got mixed into others. What do you mean? V'V'chein Ka'amar. The Brisa linked the two cases as V'chein. Right? We go back to the Brisa. Shor B'Shvarei is Hegdish. V'chein, right? A mix-up. Apparently they're on the same track, working with the same rules. Not even Shor B'Shvarei is not really certain to what he meant. The word V'chein only relates to one aspect of the Brisa. You see, there were two parts to the Brisa. One is that in these cases you have to donate the biggest one, and that's what the V'chein is going on. Whether it was a personal pledge, Shor B'Shvarei, it's the biggest one, and also in the case where there was a mix-up, you have to set aside the biggest one just in case. Then, as per the second part of the Brisa, that you have to account for a possibility that the entire group is Hegdish. That only applies to the case of a mix-up, because you really don't know what's what. But in the case of Shor B'Shvarei Hegdish, we know for sure it's the biggest and the best, as per Rav Nachman's halach. Meisvei comes another kash. Again, he's selling a house. Bias, I'm selling you a house amongst my homes, without specifying which one. V'nafal, and one of his houses, one of his properties collapsed. V'nafal, Marei Nafal, he says, Mr. Customer, you're bad luck. Look, that's your house right there on the floor. Apparently, Bias Bebatai doesn't mean the nicest one. Eved Bavadai Merchel, I'm selling you a slave amongst my slaves. Umeis, and one of them died. Marei Umeis, he points to the dead one. That's yours. What do you mean? Not up to him. We move over to the next summit. I mean, if Bias Bebatai means the biggest and the best, let's see which one collapsed. Was it the best or not? Which one? Nafal, Haydn, which one died by the Evet? Haydn Meis. According to you, Bias Bebatai means the most outstanding. no less. Says the Gemara, that's by hekdesh when he's trying to be generous. So shor b'shvara means the biggest and the best. But when he's selling a property, he's trying to get away with the least. Lo ikeach, a purchaser k'amris. You're referring to a purchaser? Shani lo ikeach is different. We know there's a rule. To extract money, you have to prove your case, right? You want to take money from your friend. All of a right, so come upon you to prove your case. The yad bal ashtad, the one's holding the document, in this case the sale, the purchase document, he's at a disadvantage. Okay, says the Gemara, now that you've accomplished this point, that will resolve the earlier question as well. With the aliyah, remember the fellow promised him a bayis with bata, and he can show him the aliyah. So we weren't sure, does aliyah mean the upper floor? Yeah. I feel the time aliyah, the griya. The Mishnah can certainly be referring to aliyah, the 16th floor, which is bad news. And asked your question, how does he have a right to give him that? He said bayis bebatai, which supposedly means the nice. Yeah, that's by hegdish, but by a real estate deal, he meant the least valuable property, unless you can prove otherwise. The customer is at a disadvantage unless he can prove otherwise. But by hegdish, ayin yofem magdish, it means the biggest and the best. Okay, let's just recap this sugya. He says, one of my kvasim, one of my shvarim, the biggest and the best. He has a lineup of a couple of them, right? He has 3, let's say. So he's got to count for the top and the middle one, which is bigger than the last one. But he can do this transfer and ultimately only give one. And it's based on ayin yofem magdish. But that's only when he says echad mikvasai. But if he says shor b'shvara, according to Rav Nachman, that's certainly the best without any doubt. All the best to you and Hatzlacha.